Starting off this week of the SportsMax Zone with cricket after a win in the first T20 on Saturday. The West Indies were looking to close out the series versus South Africa in the second T20 at SuperSport Park in Centurion on Sunday. But they ended up on the wrong side of what would be the historic game of the weekend. The Windies batting first posted 258 for 5, the 8th highest total in T20 internationals, led by a blistering 39-ball century from Johnson Charles, the St. Lucian, breaking Chris Gale's West Indian record for the fastest century. Kyle Mears contributed 51 for the Proteas. Marco Jensen took 3 for 52, and Wayne Parnell 2 for 43. Set 259 for victory. The hosts went all-out attack from ball one, reaching 102 without loss. At the end of the power play, they eventually reached 259 for 4 to win with 7 balls to spare, achieving the highest successful run chase in T20 international history. Player of the match, Quinton de Kock, outshone Johnson Charles with a century of his own, smashing an even ton of 44 deliveries. Risa Hendricks followed up with 68, and skipper Aidan Markram pushed his team over the line with 38. Johnson Charles spoke to the media post-game.
I think being out of the T20 side for 6 years, it's definitely allowed me to do some soul searching and see where I've been going wrong. I've changed my game in that I've basically gone back to the basics, made sure that, have these basics down on the down low, and just coming back, it's worked for me, and going forward, I'm just going to have to make sure that I keep the basics going, and I think if I continue doing that, I'll continue having great innings. I could recall just a couple of months ago where we played in the Bangladesh Premier League, and I was on the winning end where we had to chase 216 runs. So, like you said, I've seen it, I've been through it, so I know how it feels. But still, being on the losing end, you will feel disappointed. And like I said in the interview before we went out for the second half, we got to that point, so we expect that they can get to that point. It's all about us now preventing them from getting to that point. And, unfortunately, we were on the losing end. But going forward, we'll go back to the drawing board, see where we went wrong, and then move forward from there. It wasn't a good feeling, to be honest. But we know it's cricket, and we expect at some point, if they jump us in the power play, we expect to come back after the power play and, bring the required rate down. But the guys, credit to the South African batters, they batted beautifully, and they never really gave us a chance to come back in the game. But having said that, we did not, I don't think that we executed our plans to the best of our abilities, but once again, well played to the South African batsmen.
Yeah, Johnson Charles here. The third and deciding game will be played on Tuesday at Wanderers. Nikhil Uttamchandani joins us now on Zoom. Nikhil, obviously extremely batting-friendly conditions in this match. The batsmen pretty much just had to play through the line of the deliveries because the ball wasn't really doing much. Having said that, though, do you think the West Indies bowling could have been better? Because I think that has been the talking point out of the game, that they should have been able to defend the total that their batsmen put up.
I think, Lance, a lot of people are fast to criticize the West Indies bowling attack, but I want to draw a comparison to South Africa's bowling attack as well. You won't hear much mention because they won the game, but they too conceded 258 runs as well. Only Kagiso Rabada was really the only bowler in the match to go at less than 10 runs and over. But while I agree with Johnson Charles in the sense that, yes, I think they probably could have executed their plans. I think there were a couple of occasions where they sort of missed their length, which was critical on a surface like that, which was so placid and sort of so much reward for batters hitting through the line of the ball, as you mentioned. But also I would touch on the fielding as well. A couple of misfields, a couple of chances to take catches where they didn't go for, which I think really cost them in the end. And I mean, it was really a blistering innings from Quinton de Kock that I think you just nod your head and say, well, look, hats off to you. But I definitely think on a ground like this, where you have the small boundaries and you have the high altitude making the ball travel a lot further, the margin of error that we're used to in T20 cricket for bowlers is then accentuated even more because of those conditions. So it was really a tough day for bowlers all around.
Yeah, definitely a tough day for bowlers. I want to just, go back to the first T20 and speak about Rovman Powell, Nikhil, because Rovman Powell seems to wear the leadership role extremely well. Whenever he is the leader, you get the sense that he performs better. His performance improves. Did you get that same sense based on how he performed in that first T20?
I think both T20s, Maria, the way he came in with the bat in hand, even in this second one, I was very impressed with when Johnson Charles got out in that 14th over. The West Indies were scoring at just above 12.5 runs per over, and in those next 6, they went up to even more. They went to 13 runs per over through Johnson Charles and his aggressive nature. I'm very eager to see if on surfaces and conditions that are not so batting friendly, if the West Indies can sustain this aggressive ability pretty much throughout the innings, because we've seen, with the amount of sixes, they just hit the 22 sixes and broke the record in that second T20 International. Clearly, Rovman Powell's intent is that they're going to look to attack the game, even in the middle overs where the West Indies have characteristically struggled. I'm interested to see, though, in Caribbean conditions where you get a bit of two-pace nature in terms of surfaces, if that can be sustained. We didn't see it work at the World Cup last year, so I'm interested to see how he refines that. But in terms of his personal ability, I've been nailing it in terms of since the CPL, the Super 50. There's something about captaincy that makes Rovman Powell times better, and we're already seeing it in just 2 matches as captain.
Right, and also Johnson Charles, he was very, very impressive, and I think his story is worth talking about because he has been out of international cricket for approximately 6 years, if I'm correct, and we all know he's 34 years of age, and the fact that, he's back in the game and able to score a century for his team is something that must be commended.
I mean, anytime you score a century in T20 international cricket, or T20 cricket for that matter, I think you deserve immense credit. But why I would also want to pinpoint this innings even more from Johnson Charles is, I remember watching that Caribbean Premier League. I don't think many would have looked at the beginning of last year, August, and thought Johnson Charles would be back in the West Indies team 6 months later. He's really added a lot to his game. He was very vague in the press conference and said he just went back to the basics. But specifically against spin, which is an area he struggled early in his career, and also hitting through the offside. He hit a 6-over cover to bring up his 100. That is not something that you see from Johnson Charles very often. So he's added those two very important parts to his game. He's now played 40 T20 internationals, and since making his return, he's been consistent at the top of the order, but he's ensured that he's sort of taken the game a bit deeper than he did probably in the earlier years of his career. So I'm very happy for the 34-year-old and clearly showing that he has a lot to add to this West Indies team.
Yeah, Nikhil, here's a quick question out of left field. On the opening day of a test match, if you get the pitch turning too much, then at the end of it, the ICC says it was a poor wicket, unsatisfactory. In a T20 international where there is no assistance for the bowlers and you have over 500 runs, do you also rate that surface as poor?
Well, first of all, Ricardo, before I get into my answer, let me comment on that immaculate suit of yours, man. I just find that's as sharp as I've seen you look since I've been on the zone. But to your question, I think it's a very interesting one, something that I never actually thought about. But what I would say is, I think people are looking at that placid surface, and yes, I mean, 258 is ridiculous. But also it has a lot to do with the atmospheric conditions. When you play in these higher altitude venues, and you have that less dense air, the ball travels significantly further. So that is also something to keep your eye on, because a lot of those balls that were hit into the air on other grounds, even on flat pitches, could possibly have just gone up in the air and been taken as catches. But because of that less density, they just continue to travel. So I think it's a lot more than just the pitch. I wouldn't say it's as bad to give it sort of a demerit point. Because T20 cricket is a sort of more entertaining, more flamboyant game, and I think that's what the ICC are really going for. They want to see. I mean, I think they want.
So Nikhil, are you saying to me that it's okay not to have a good battle between bat and ball? Because for me, what we saw on the weekend was not a battle between bat and ball.
Well, if you would have let me finish, Ricardo, I was about to say I think they would have liked to see a bit more balance, but I think more than just the pitch, the atmospheric conditions as well had a big part to play. And the next T20 International tomorrow in Johannesburg, that's also high altitude. Sri Lanka have scored 260 there. So you could expect some more of the same.
Yeah, Ricardo, that battle between bat and ball on Sunday would resemble a Shelley-Ann Fraser-Price, Shakira Richardson battle in a 100-metre race. Nikhil, we're going to leave it there. Of course, the third and deciding T20 is on Tuesday, and we'll talk about that. Thanks, man.
Cheers, guys. Have a good one.
We're still talking cricket with Hayley Matthews' Mumbai Indians winning the inaugural Women's Premier League, beating Delhi Capitals in Sunday's final. Delhi posted 131 for 9 in their 20 overs, with captain Meg Lanning top scoring with 35. Hayley Matthews was the best Mumbai Indians bowler with 3 for 5 or 4 overs. In reply, Mumbai reached 134 for 3 to win with 3 balls to spare. Nat Siva-Brunt led the chase with an unbeaten 60, while captain Harmanpreet Kaur added 37. Matthews contributed 13. Matthews was named tournament MVP and also received the purple cap for taking the most wickets. The West Indian grabbed 16 wickets in 10 matches at an average of 12.64 and an economy rate of 5.94. She also scored 271 runs at an average of 30.11 and a strike rate of 126.04. Impressive from Hayley Matthews, and Dwayne Bravo is the leading all-time wicket taker in men's IPL cricket. And what a start here for Hayley Matthews, another West Indian.
Yeah, and I'm very, very proud of her. And I just want to say, you see her in a different capacity when she plays in a team where the pressure is not on her. So Hayley Matthews had the opportunity to just be herself, to be free, to be the youngster that we know who loves her game. And of course, no pressure, because she doesn't have to worry if she doesn't do bad with the Windies women that she's going to be at fault, she's going to get blamed and whatnot. And I'm so happy to see her reaping these rewards. And I hope that she continues to do well.
Yeah, great tournament from Hayley Matthews. I would still like to see a little bit more consistency with the bat, but you can't argue too much with 271 runs and 16 wickets and being named tournament MVP.
That's right. The men, of course, will be in action in the Tata Indian Premier League starting Friday. 12 West Indians set to participate, and SportsMax will have the opening game live starting at 9 o'clock Jamaica time, 10 o'clock in the rest of the Caribbean. Back with more on The Zone after this.
Stay with SportsMax on YouTube and follow us on all social pages for updates, news and entertainment.